I have a journey for you that sets out to show how it came to pass that people went, as we've learned, a Viking. The tale of Skadi and Njord. Now far, far away, above a loveless lap of lava, in a crevice, there stands against the hailstorms a castle. It is the fort of the giant and his daughter, the giant Thiazi and his daughter Skadi. Now there, in that castle of Thrymheim, Skadi awoke, and at once something tingled within the giantess and told her her father was now in doom. He looked about and had kept a careful watch over his prize prisoner, the goddess from Ostgard, who brings to the gods youth in the form of apples. And Idun had escaped. Skadi, of course, thought, oh, I know who it was that helped and has sent my father off to his doom. It must have been that mischief maker, Loki. No doubt with some wise advice from the All-Father Odin. I will have to go and get vengeance myself. Thus, Skadi clad herself in chainmail and put atop her head a great helm, and in her hand she lifted a serpentine sword, and upon her arm she put a round shield of gold, and then on her shoulder she had a spear of ash, and off she went, determined for vengeance in Ostgard. I have to raise the alarm, cried Heimdall. Why is that? Demanded Odin. The giantess, the daughter of that one we just slayed, Thiazi, she comes. Indeed, it is Skadi. Oh, said Odin, we want no more bloodshed. Now that we finally have our apples of youth back, and Idun, that giant never should have taken those apples in the first place. He suffered a fate and his own doom. Maybe there's a way we can make peace with this giantess. Well, Skadi entered the realm of the Ostgardians, and she fumed, and she was ready with that spear. Odin put up his hands and said, O great and powerful Skadi, forgive us for what we had to do to your father. It was his fate to be so doomed to die. I, said Skadi, feel but one thing since my father's death, and I feel it in my heart as soon as it happened. I feel fury. But there are moments when I feel something other than fury. It is despair. So Odin, the one-eyed one of wisdom, had the body of her father brought in, and the great giantess daughter shed tears. And then Odin plucked out the eyes of the dead frost one and threw them into the heavens. Now you will always be under your father's gaze. Are you still set on vengeance? Yes, said the great shield giant. Well, perhaps, said Loki, we could provide you with a bit of gold. I don't want gold. My father has plenty of gold, and now it's mine. I want not for that. Well, there must be something you want from us. Your father is dead. Not much more can we do about that. Well, then the giantess's eyes flashed about until they fell upon a soft, handsome place, they fell upon the form of Baldur. I wish to marry. You will marry. I will make sure you marry one of those fine gods here at Asgard. But let's make it interesting for you. Your eyes have fallen upon the one that you want to marry, Baldur, but let us see how true is your sight. Perhaps it is as true as your father's eyes are now. What do you mean, Odin? Wondered Skadi. Well, why don't we make it interesting and, you can pick out your husband-to-be only by looking upon his feet, or maybe his ankle. Well, looking upon Baldur's fine form, she grew enchanted by every inch of him and stared at his feet and a few other places as well. And she said, so be it. I will pick my husband. And then all the great gods gathered round, and Skadi scrutinized, and she said, oh, there he is. Well chosen, declared Odin. Look, you've picked Njord, the god of those who are seafaring, and the god of those who harvest from the sea. Oh, I see, said Skadi. Oh, but I wanted... Hush, said Njord. This is the beginning of our marriage. Make your words count. But I wanted Baldur. I don't want this one. He smells like fish and salt. Well, he's the one you have chosen. Now, soon we will have a celebration. Yea, we will have a celebration. But never again will I smile with the loss of my father and marriage to this fish-smelling deity. Ugh, never will I smile. Well, Odin still looked upon this Sheol maiden's spear and sword, and wanting no more bloodshed, he said, Loki, could you make this one laugh? And Loki said, me? How can I make anyone laugh? Everyone despises me. Or if they ever were to laugh, it would be only a... Well, here's what I can do. I can tell you how I go to the market. And Odin folded his arms, and Thor took his hammer and wrapped it in his hand, wondering, where is Loki going with this? Well, Skadi seemed engaged. And her fishy husband-to-be, Njord, sat down and listened. When I go to the market, I always have so much produce to sell that, well, I need both of my hands to carry things. And of course, I like to bring my goat. Everyone enjoys my goat's milk. So I devised a unique way to tether a lot. Well, let me just show you. And then he called in his goat, and he took a thong, a piece of leather, and strapped it round the goat's beard and said, see how my hands are full? So here's what I do so I can walk along. I take the other end of the tongue, and then he tucked it into his trousers and wrapped it around and said, there, it's tied. Everyone looked at one another and laughed. Tied to what? Tied, to my tegument. Your what? My tegument. It's the container for carrying a pair of jewels, if you will. Ow! And then the goat bah, bah, gave a little tug, and Loki's trousers fell, and bah, bah, ah, and he fell right into Skadi's lap. And even the mourning giantess had to laugh. And then they had a great celebration. And when the celebration was done, the new couple decided they would go for what we would call a honeymoon back to that lava flow over a loveless land where there stands against the hail and the storms the castle of the deceased giant Thiazi and his daughter, now married to Njord. And Skadi and Njord went up into that fortress known as Thrimheim. And there, for 9 days, oh, they made love. And when they didn't, ow, 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 that wasn't them. That was, oh, 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 the wolves haunting and hunting until Njord said, oh, my wife, I've grown to love you, but, oh, the howling, the cold, this castle standing on this plain of loveless lava. I miss the sea, the mewling of the gulls, the salt in the air. Let's go there. And they did. And some say for 9 more days they made love, and they slapped their bodies, and it wasn't the seals or the fish, but it was, that got to Skadi. Ah, the stench, the fish, I cannot bear it. I would rather have the hail in the mountains falling on the rooftops than to listen to those fish and to smell that stench. And the two looked at one another and agreed they would both go their separate ways, a Viking. And to the sea went Njord, and he blessed those who went out seafaring and fishing. And up into Thrimheim went Skadi. And many, even unto this day, when they gaze high into the loveless lava plains and see among the mountains what could be the ancient halls of the giantess Skadi, they, well, perhaps get a little frightened of the hail and the wolves and want to go a Viking too. And those by the sea will look out and listen to the mewling of the gulls and the slapping of the fish and the waves. And, oh, they get a little bit of Njord in them, and it makes them go a Viking too. And if you feel those tugs from the mountains or the sea on your heart, you can thank Skadi and Njord. And good friends, that's the tale of why people go a Viking. Thank you very much for listening.